Tanaka, of course, handles most of the actual hard work, which is securing a venue, figuring out the costs, all the stuff that they're not going to talk about in the show. Hello and welcome to You and Idol Precure episode 36, which also I think might be a Yes 5 reference. I didn't realize it until they said the title, but the whole kette situation was like the catchphrase for Cure Dream, like it's settled, was like her whole bit she did back then, so I wonder if that's just like a little nod to it. Anyways, we have kind of an interim episode that I think is just fun and informational, and just, for the most part, let's say what this episode is. This is an ad for the live show that they're doing in Yokohama. Like, that was the whole point of them doing this in the first place. And I think for it being basically the product placement episode, it wasn't horrible. I honestly prefer this more than the one that they did back in Hodoguru Sky with the whole plane collaboration situation. I think this one did a better job at integrating the fact that the live is happening in real life and here are all the things you can look forward to in the live while also making it an episode. Do I think it's the best? No. But I do think, for the most part, it's a solid episode. Starting with using Purirun here. First of all, I like that we get to see their human forms. I'm always happy to see human form, Meridon, and Purirun all the way. We see them interacting with the club. I also like that, again, it's Purirun. We don't have Uta or even Nana in this scene right here. It just starts off with Purirun mindlessly stating that she's seen the Cures live multiple times. And everyone else is like, whoa, what do you mean you got to see all of the Cures live? And they're like, haha, teehee, it was in her dreams. But then Purirun's like, why don't we do a live? We've only ever performed in such a way that it was recorded and then distributed online to everybody. We should probably do it IRL. And honestly, it was a very solid way to slide into this, as well as just, again, use the team better. I think that's one thing, especially with the last few episodes that we've had kind of not as good, is the usage of the group. I feel like it's definitely done the age-old curse of magical girl shows, maybe in general, where the main character is the only one that matters and everybody kind of fades into the B plot line. I like that they put Purirun a little bit more at the forefront of this, and it eventually slides into just being the Uta show once more. But again, I like that at least we start off with somebody different because it works with Purirun. Using her singular brain cell as well as her high motivation for idols is a perfect way to start off the episode and introduce the idea of doing a live show and bring it up with the group. Tanaka, of course, handles most of the actual hard work, which is securing a venue, figuring out the costs, all the stuff that they're not going to talk about in the show. And they, of course, talk about the Pacifico Yokohama location they'll go to, which is about the same-ish size. I think it's a little bit smaller than, like, Radio City Music Hall, but it's quite large for Japan, which is very exciting. I hope that the IRL show sells well. I don't know the best way to obtain that information, but I'm hoping the best for the IRL show. I actually don't know if them putting this episode here, like, I don't know when the show is precisely, but I wonder if they did this while tickets are on sale, or if they do that really jerk thing that a lot of series will do, where they'll put this episode after, like, tickets have gone on sale and are, like, either sold out or no longer selling. And they're like, oh, this is gonna be great for everybody who's going, but, like, it does sucks to be you if you didn't get tickets yet. But, hopefully people still have the ability to get tickets. Don't know when the live show is, but it's there. Actually, I take it back. Isn't it at Thanksgiving? They usually have a Precure live show that's kind of a big deal at Thanksgiving. So maybe it's at Thanksgiving. I don't know. I hope you can still get tickets if you're in Japan and you want to go see it. And then they, of course, once they've gotten some of the logistics out of the way, they let everybody know that they are doing the live show. Now, honestly, this was the best part of the episode for me, and I feel like it's sad that we move away from this focal point in the episode, where they sit there and go to the club and they start taking down requests. Like, they're like, what do you guys want to see in a show? Wink, wink, nod, nod, let us know. And it's nice to actually hear what people want to hear in a show, because there are some, like, trademark things, especially with, like, Japanese idols that occur, that are pretty fun. Like, I think one of the things I enjoy in shows that they brought up was, like, somebody's like, I really like encores. That's kind of my favorite thing, is that the show, like, ends, but it doesn't really end, and you cheer until they come back out. Now, it's kind of cruel when they take, like, 10 minutes to finally come back out on stage, whatever logistical reason they do that for. But I love them coming back out for one final song where they're like, you thought that was the final song, but this is the final song. I do enjoy an encore a lot. I think it's very big in Japanese culture. But they talk about other things they want to do. Some people were like, let's do a Q&A. We want to see like a bit of like, not just music, but maybe a talk show portion to it. There's all these different requests, which I think are really cool that they take down, and I honestly wish this was more of a focal point of the episode. It was actually breaking down how the show's going to play out and stuff, but I mean, I guess they're just going to save that for people who actually attend. We get to see these two Gubensteins once more a little bit. They get a little bit of a showcase here outside of Pretty Holic, promoting the fact that the live is happening, and we can see that the hype is being garnered amongst the people. In the meantime, the last bit of the good part of this episode, or like not really just the good, but like the best part of this episode, they kind of sit down and assign to each of the members a different function of the show that they're going to focus on and sort out, which I think was very cute. I like that we actually got to see a bit of a schedule. We got to see what order people come out and stuff. Like, all of this was really cute. This, for me, was the best part of it. Just, I love to see them break down what a show is, and then all the girls take it very seriously. Earlier in the episode, Tanaka also mentioned that they've matured a lot, and I really enjoyed, like, in the sense that they have grown to take this more seriously. It's not sort of a whatever tee-hee-ha-ha thing we're doing spontaneously. There's a lot of thought behind it, and there's a lot of work, and I appreciate that they do that, especially since compared to other shows, this is a magical one, so there's typically a level of, like, you know, why do we talk about, like, the hardships and the work you have to put behind a show? Why can't we just go straight to the magic? I appreciate that they don't cut corners on at least showing some level of effort that goes into the production of all of this. And then again, I think it's also just kind of a highlight to the people who are actually working on the For Real show. They're like, we do prepare a lot behind the scenes for you guys. And I do like that they shine a light a little bit on that. And of course, we get to see them doing things like rehearse and whatnot. I also will say that one thing I noticed that I don't typically notice in a lot of these episodes, I think this episode, because of like how chill it is, the soundtrack was pretty good for just like the background music. I almost always forget to talk about that, just because I can't share it with you here, but I did really like the backtracks for this episode. I think they're just the normal ones that they have, but it's shown a little bit better with just like how fun and kind of laid back this is. I kind of got Eurocamp vibes. I'm a huge fan of Eurocamp, and it just like, it felt like a chill, cozy episode of just kind of like getting stuff done, and I don't know why, that just, like, it scratched an itch that I have of just like, I kind of want a comfy show where we just do things and stuff gets done. We don't need big conflict, we just need working ahead. And then the girls get the opportunity to go look at the venue and check it out. Now, the one thing I didn't particularly care for this episode, and it's like not a huge deal, was that this episode kind of shifts gear to focus on like, what's the title of our live show? We gotta really think about the title of our live show. And this ends up being kind of the central focus of the episode, which I didn't like. They moved away from like trying to break down the show, and then there's another thing that they do in the other half of the show that's also interesting, but they don't spend too much time on either of those two things. And instead, the main point is, what are we gonna name our show? And I'm like, I don't care. I was like, I really don't care how much you guys are like breaking down over coming up with the name of the show. That just was the last thing I cared about. Unfortunately, it's the only thing Uta cares about, where she's trying to come up with a name. Putidun actually gives, like, several options for it, to which Uta's like, no, that's wrong. We can't do that. That doesn't feel right. And I gotta give it to these two, because they take the criticism well. Like, normally Metadon would be like, how dare you say what Putidun suggested wasn't good enough? And Putidun would be like, you hurt my feelings by not choosing what I chose. But the two of them also show their growth, at least in this way, that both of them handle Uta rejecting the options well. And Putidun still, like, charges forward with other options. Originally, they put on the idea of being, like, the Kirarara show, which would have been fine as a title. Like, honestly, I could have settled on this being the resolution of this side plot line, because it's Uta's catchphrase, and it's pretty indicative of, like, an aspect of the show. I think a catchphrase and then the name of the show would have been an easy out for the naming of it, but obviously there's an IRL name that they're going to go with eventually. So ultimately, Uta settles for the moment on not coming up with a name and just being motivated about the show instead of constantly being distracted about trying to figure out the name. And again, like, this whole naming plotline I feel like took away from anything that was going good about this episode. And then, of course, now that she's satisfied, Putidun and her can conk out, and Metadon's like, it's that easy to go from the most stressed person on the planet to completely turn it off. And I'm with her there. I can't do that. That's not me. Nonetheless, our girls transform and get ready for the live show and are going to go through sort of the rehearsals and kind of the last few steps of doing the performance. Then we get to see the stage itself, which is really pretty. I do like this. I imagine that it mirrors what the IRL stage must look like, but then again, I don't know how impressive they can be with their stage work and how they'd handle this IRL, because I imagine a lot of this will be like cardboard. But I really like some of the detailing on the stage, just to look at it as from at least a fantastical element. I love the idea of them having the plaid on the, like, stairwell and everything here. I think that's super duper cool that they integrated it, and they went with the white, I guess, because it's the most neutral tone that they could have. I feel like the black would be almost not visible. And then obviously, like, the pink, purple, or blue might be too loud, so the white works as a good neutral. The stairs are really cool. I like the stairs have, like, musical notes. We got the treble clef? And then we get to see, like, the notes and different signs for each of the characters on there. And overall, it's a cute stage. I think it's pretty solid. But you know, I will save my judgment if I ever come across an image of the IRL stage. That will, I imagine, again, will probably be twinning to this. And then the girls do a little bit of backstage getting ready, and they get a bento box, and they run into some of the staff. And this is the plotline that I honestly wish was more of the episode. Like, I feel like there's 3 different sort of plot lines going on here. We have the plotline for, like, the group actually deciding how the performance will go and the scheduling for that. Then we have the title, and then we have this whole thing of, like, we really want to thank the staff who work on stuff. And I really wish they hadn't done all 3 of these things kind of mushed together. I think, honestly, each of these things could have probably been their own episode. Though we can throw the title thing didn't have to be as big a deal as it was. I really wish they focused more on, like, the little guy matters and have that be the whole episode. I kind of miss the era where Precure had whoever was going to be the victim of the week be a central character for the full episode. I will say I think Doki Doki and Hagato were better about that, where whoever was gonna be the victim was in the entirety of the episode, and their conflict or whatever was happening was central to the entire episode. And it sucks that for, like, the last 7 minutes of this episode, we get introduced to the side guy who's, like, just a little stressed out, working around, kind of running around getting everybody supplies and stuff. And he's like, oh man, I'm gonna fail everybody because I didn't give everybody their, like, sponsored tea. And it's just, I kind of miss when that would be, like, the whole thing, and we would see that character throughout the episode have their troubles, and then the whole focus be like, wow, the little guy who helps out on stage is as important as the rest of us. Rather than just be the whole episode, instead of trying to do, like, 10 things in one episode. Which is the only reason why, like, this episode for me is not as strong as other episodes in the entire franchise. Because overall, like, I think it's a good episode. I think it's just doing too much. We get to our battle portion of it, and again, not much is happening, a lot of stock footage. The only sort of glimmer we get of goodness in this fight is that there is a nice combo maneuver with Wink doing a shield followed up by Kiss attacking. And I'm like, that's cool, but also, that would have been better if we had had that attack, like, last episode, where those 2 characters actually interacted with each other at some point. It's interesting how much the battles just feel so disconnected from the rest of the franchise, where I really think you could have straight up taken this fight and replaced it with last episode's fight, and it would have made more sense. It's kind of weird how it genuinely feels like they swapped these fights for the wrong episodes. But afterwards, our victim's purified, and he gains the confidence to, like, believe in himself for helping out the team. This allows Idol to realize what she wants to call the show, which is, it went from, like, You and Idol Together was where we started, and I was like, again, that was a fine name. I could have easily been like, that's fine, let's go with that name. But instead they're like, we're gonna call it You and Idol equals We're Idol Precure. And I'm like, okay, sure. Whatever. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, out of the 3 suggested names that they kind of landed on here, this was probably my least favorite, but it's their live, name it whatever you want, I don't care. I'm not gonna be able to attend it. Speaking of too many things going on this episode, I knew ahead of time, first of all, these 3 are the singers who do the opening for You and Idol Precure, like IRL. They put them into the show, which I think is really sweet and cute. They have a little bit of an interview where they talk about this being their first time voice acting and how it's an honor to be doing this and all that. And we have, like, the briefest scene in the universe of these guys being in here, and then they're like, oh, you guys are doing a live show, we're doing a live show, let's just do our live show together. And it's like, There's barely a decent transition into explaining who these people are and why they matter. Like, I know they're not going to say, you guys do the You and Idol opening, so it would only make sense that you're going to be in our show. Like, I get that they can't break the fourth wall about who these people are. But, like, again, I wouldn't have minded, especially with the way that they advertised this episode. I thought these guys would play a much bigger role or show up at least a lot earlier. I didn't think they would shoehorn them in at the last second, so I take it back. There's not 3 plot lines in here, there's a 4th one. Where they're introducing these guys, and I'm like, again, I would have loved a full episode where we talk about these 3 and, like, have them be more integral to the plot, and that be the whole episode. I just, again, too many things happening, and most of them were good ideas. Most of them, I think, could have been a fully fleshed out episode. But overall, again, as this sort of tied over episode, it's not bad. I've seen significantly worse. Obviously, I'm short on calling it filler, solely because it is to promote the live show IRL, so there is like an actual function to it. And then the fact that the group is finally doing an actual live show is something that Idol should do. But does it have anything to do with the plot? Not really. But I still think it's integrated into the series. This makes sense to be something the girls would do. Now, the downside to this episode is really its placement with the next episode. Because tell me why. Tell me why in the next episode we're going back to revisit Uta's feelings about Kaito. Was that not the whole purpose of the previous episode? Didn't we have a whole episode dedicated to her figuring out her feelings for Kaito? And then next episode's gonna be, hey Uta, what are your feelings for Kaito? Why are we doing it again? Like, it's driving me nuts that, like, they're dragging it. Like, I talked about it before. I said they're dragging out whatever's going on with Kaito, but I mean it, like, with much more veracity when I say this. They are dragging it out, and they're doing it just like we did with the Metadon plotline, where we just kept doing the same thing multiple episodes in a row. They're now doing it with Kaito, where we're not doing it in a row anymore. We're doing it every other episode. We're gonna be like, what if we sat there and asked Uta how she feels about Kaito? As if we have not done that already in this show. I don't know why we're doing it again. The only thing that they could do again is basically walk back what they implied in the last episode. Like, there is very little room, despite people thinking this is a debatable thing. The way they left the last episode was that Uta has romantic feelings for Kaito. The only thing they can do in the next episode is just retcon that. If we're gonna revisit it, I guess we're gonna retcon the feelings, because why else are we going over it again? What's the point of doing the same thing over and over again? Like, is she gonna take her to the aquarium this time? Like, why are we having the same episode twice? Like, they're sitting here being like, well, she's gonna get the power-up next episode, her solo power-up, and I'm like, that's great. If you were gonna do that, do it last episode. Why are we doing it again? Surely, like, this is where I get upset, where I'm like, other seasons had gotten cut short for a variety of reasons. Some of them had really bad earthquakes. Some seasons suffered a pandemic. Other seasons suffered a hacking of Toei headquarters. This season doesn't have any of that, and they're doing the same episode twice! I feel bad for other seasons. Genuinely. Genuinely, who were like, if we had one other episode, we could have finished a character's plotline. And then You and Idol Precure's like, we'll do the same episode twice, and in fact, it's gonna be the episode you hated the most in this series, and we're gonna do it twice. Anyways, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye!